You don't feel out of control because life is chaotic. You feel out of control because you're trying to control the wrong things. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The harder you try to control everything around you, the less control you actually have. Think about this. You plan every detail. You think through every outcome. You try to manage how people see you, how they respond, how things turn out. And still things don't go your way. That's where the frustration comes from. Not from what happens, but from how much effort you put in, trying to stop it from happening. Now notice something different. The people who seem the most in control don't look like they're controlling anything. They're not forcing outcomes. They're not managing everyone in the room. They're not trying to predict every move. They're just steady. And that steadiness changes everything. Here's a situation you've probably been in. You send a message. You think carefully about every word. You try to make sure it sounds right. You want the other person to respond well. Then you wait, and start checking your phone again. You begin replaying what you said. You wonder if you came across the wrong way. Now you're no longer in control. You're reacting to something you don't control. Or maybe it's a conversation. You try to guide it. You try to say the right things. You adjust yourself based on their reactions. You try to keep things going in a certain direction. But something still feels off. Because instead of being present, you're managing. This is where most people misunderstand control. They think control means shaping outcomes, making things go their way, getting the response they want. But that's not control. That's dependency. Here's the real problem. You're trying to control things that were never yours, other people's reactions, their opinions, how situations unfold, the final outcome. None of that belongs to you, and the more you chase it, the more unstable you feel. Because every one of those things can change without your permission. Here's the shift. The person who seems in control is not controlling the situation. They're controlling themselves inside the situation. They don't try to manage reactions. They manage their response. They don't try to guarantee outcomes. They prepare for different ones, and that changes how they move. This is where most people get it wrong. They think if they don't manage everything, something will go wrong. So they try harder. They plan more. They adjust constantly. But the more they do this, the more resistance they create. People feel it. Situations become tense. Nothing flows naturally. And slowly, they lose the very thing they were trying to gain. Here's why this happens. At the core, it's fear. You think if you don't manage the outcome, you'll lose something. Respect, approval, opportunity. So you try to prevent that loss by controlling everything around you. But there's a hidden cost. You stop trusting yourself. Because if you trusted yourself, you wouldn't need to control everything. You would know you can handle whatever happens, and that's the real difference. Here's the truth. Control is not about making things go your way. Control is about being okay no matter which way they go. Let that sink in. If your state depends on the outcome, you're not in control. You're attached. But if your state stays stable, regardless of the outcome, you have real control. Think about someone who stays calm when things don't go as planned. They don't panic. They don't overreact. They adjust. That's control. Not forcing the wave, but staying steady in it. So the question becomes, how do you actually do this? You need a different approach. Not more effort, but better direction. Start with this. Step 1. Stop trying to control what you can't. This sounds simple, but it's not easy. You have to catch yourself in the moment. When you start thinking, what will they think? How will this turn out? Pause and name it. I'm trying to control something I don't own. That awareness matters. Because you can't change what you don't see, then let it go. Not because it doesn't matter, but because it's not yours to manage. Every time you release that, you get energy back. Step 2. Focus on what is actually yours. Your actions, your words, your preparation, your boundaries, your emotional state. That's your space. That's where control lives. When you shift your attention there, something changes. You stop reacting to every external move. You stop draining yourself over uncertainty. You become more stable. And stability is what people respond to. Step 3. Trust yourself to handle what comes. This is the part most people skip. They try to control everything because they don't trust themselves. They think, if this goes wrong, I won't handle it well. But look at your past. You've handled difficult situations before. Things didn't go your way, and you still moved forward. That's evidence. So instead of trying to control the outcome, build trust in your ability to respond. Tell yourself, I can handle this. Not because you know what will happen, but because you know you'll deal with it. This is where real confidence comes from. Not from certainty, but from self-trust. Now, let's make this practical. Next time you feel the urge to control, replace the pattern. Instead of overthinking, say, I can't control this. I can control my response. Instead of forcing an outcome, I've done what I can. The rest is not mine. When uncertainty shows up, I can handle whatever comes. And when things don't go your way, my peace is not in the outcome. It's in how I respond. These are not just words. They reset your focus. And over time, they change how you operate. Because here's what starts to happen. You stop chasing certainty. You start building stability. You stop reacting to every shift. You stay grounded through it. And people notice that. Not because you're trying to impress them, but because you're no longer trying to manage them. That's what makes you feel different. And here's the deeper layer most people miss. When you stop trying to control everything, you actually gain more influence, because you're no longer forcing outcomes. You're allowing space for things to unfold, and in that space, you can respond clearly. Not emotionally, not reactively, but intentionally. That's real control. So if you take one thing from this, let it be this. You don't gain control by managing everything around you. You gain control by mastering how you respond to it. Everything else is unstable. Your response is not. This week, try something simple. Notice one situation where you're trying to control the outcome, and instead of pushing, shift your focus. Back to your actions, back to your state, back to what you can actually manage. Watch what happens. You'll feel lighter, less tense, more clear, and strangely more in control than before. Because you're no longer carrying what was never yours. And this is just one layer. Most people spend years trying to fix the outside without ever understanding how the inside works. If this changed how you see control, there's a deeper structure behind it. And once you understand that structure, you stop feeling at the mercy of everything around you. If you want to go deeper, the full framework is in the book. Because control was never about the world, it was always about you.